Anakin Skywalker was at a critical moment in his life, where the weight of the decisions he made would shape not only his destiny, but the destiny of the entire galaxy. After being rejected by the Council that refused to make him master, Anakin felt betrayed. It was in this moment of vulnerability that Palpatine, always on the prowl, began to weave his manipulations with greater intensity. The Chancellor, cunning as ever, planted the idea that the Jedi Council would never promote Anakin to master because they feared his greatness. According to Palpatine, the Jedi Masters were intimidated by Anakin's power and knew that he was, in fact, the greatest Jedi of all time. Palpatine even suggested that without Anakin at the helm, the Republic itself was in danger, planting the seed of doubt and ambition in the young Jedi's heart. These poisoned words began to take root in Anakin's mind. He began to question the intentions of the Jedi Council and to feel increasingly frustrated by what he saw as their refusal to recognize his true potential. Doubt grew like a cancer, eating away at his confidence in the Jedi Order and his own decisions. Anakin came to believe that the Council, far from being a unifying force, was actually contributing to the weakness of the Republic. Frustration took hold of him, and he began to feel that the Order was failing in its duty to protect peace and justice. His resentment at not being promoted to master was fueled by Palpatine's words, creating a growing rift between him and the Jedi. Seeking a confidant, Anakin shared his concerns with Ahsoka Tano, his former Padawan and loyal friend. Ahsoka, who had already faced her own disillusionment with the Jedi Order, listened attentively to Anakin's words. She also began to question the Council's decisions, especially after seeing the negative impact these decisions were having on Anakin. The distrust she already had for the Council was amplified by Anakin's influence, and she began to believe that perhaps there was something wrong with the Order's leadership. The shadow of doubt spread, and what had once been a united Order slowly began to fragment, with different Jedi beginning to openly question the decisions of their leaders. The situation worsened when Palpatine, with his mastery of manipulation, began to orchestrate internal conflicts among the Jedi. He spread rumors and false information, causing the Jedi to start distrusting each other. Jedi Masters like Plo Koon and Kit Fisto, known for their wisdom and prudence, began to disagree with the Council's leadership. They were persuaded by the idea that Anakin might be right in his concerns. The climate of tension and mistrust grew daily, and Palpatine, always behind the scenes, manipulated every situation to favor his dark plan. The Jedi Order was disintegrating from the inside out, and Anakin was at the center of this maelstrom. Convinced that the Jedi Council was deliberately blocking his progress, Anakin decided it was time to take drastic action. He began to conceive the revolutionary idea of reforming the Jedi Order, and the first stage of this plan would be to remove the Council, which he believed to be corrupt and ineffective. For Anakin, the true leadership of the Order and the Republic depended on his direct intervention. He began to imagine a new Jedi Order, led by him, which would be more efficient, more powerful, and more in line with the needs of the galaxy. Anakin saw his action as a necessity, a mission to save the Republic from decay. Determined to take a firm stand, Anakin recorded a message addressed to all the Jedi, denouncing the Council as corrupt and blind. In the message, he accused the Council of impeding the Order's progress, of being incapable of seeing the future, and of clinging to an outdated vision of peace and justice. Anakin declared that, in order to protect the Republic and the galaxy, a new leadership was needed, one that was willing to do whatever was necessary. His message caused shock and dismay among many Jedi, but it also found resonance among those who, like Anakin, were disillusioned with the Council's leadership. Soon after sending his message, Anakin met with Palpatine, seeking guidance. The Chancellor, seizing the opportunity, reinforced his manipulations, telling Anakin that the Council was afraid of him and that if he didn't act quickly, the Republic could suffer irreparable consequences. Palpatine suggested that Anakin should lead the Jedi Order to ensure the peace and stability that the galaxy needed. He used the Chosen One's prophecy as his main argument, saying that Anakin was destined to bring balance to the Force, but that in order to do so, he would need to take control and make difficult decisions. Palpatine molded Anakin's mind, convincing him that his rise to power was inevitable and necessary. With confidence fueled by Palpatine's words, Anakin decided to confront the Jedi Council. He entered the council chamber with determination, accusing them of being responsible for the decline of the Order and the chaotic situation in the galaxy. The Jedi Masters, including Yoda, were disappointed and worried by Anakin's stance, but Ki-Adi-Mundi, influenced by Palpatine's manipulations, took a radical stance. He expelled Anakin from the Order, which only intensified the division within the Jedi. Many began to openly question the Council's decisions, believing that expelling Anakin, the Chosen One, was a serious mistake. The Jedi Order was on the verge of collapse, with internal factions emerging and trust in the Council's leadership rapidly disintegrating. Ahsoka's disillusionment with the Jedi Order was the final impetus that led her to join Anakin. She, who had already experienced the injustice and lack of vision of the Council, believed that Anakin was right to want to reform the Order. Ahsoka saw in Anakin a leader who could correct the mistakes of the old generation and save the Republic. Together, they formed an alliance that challenged the authority of the Jedi Council, seeking a new path for the galaxy. For Ahsoka, this was the chance to redeem the Order and give it back the purpose it had lost. With tensions at their highest, an inevitable battle broke out in the Jedi Temple. Palpatine, always in the lead, had planned everything. He pitted Jedi against Jedi, exacerbating the internal conflict that he himself had fomented. During the battle, Palpatine's traps began to close. He managed to lure Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi into a carefully crafted trap. The Council leadership, now outnumbered, tried desperately to hold the Order together, but the blow had already been struck. The battle inside the Jedi Temple was a reflection of the divisions that had been created, and the Jedi began to realize that the Order, as they knew it, was on the brink of destruction. In the heat of battle, Anakin's fate was sealed. Manipulated by Palpatine's lies and consumed by rage, Anakin fell into one of his traps and inadvertently killed Obi-Wan Kenobi, his former master and closest friend. Palpatine, ever manipulative, took advantage of the situation to convince Anakin that Obi-Wan had been plotting against him from the start, and that his death was a necessity so that Anakin could free himself from the bonds of the past. With that, Anakin's fall to the dark side was almost complete. He was crossing the point of no return, with darkness consuming his soul. The battle ended with the Jedi Order in ruins. With Obi-Wan dead and internal division consuming the Jedi, Anakin took command, believing he was doing what was necessary to save the Republic. He set about implementing the changes suggested by Palpatine, removing the Jedi Order from the war effort and reforming the Jedi Code to align with his new vision. Mace Windu, another great Jedi Master, was lured by Palpatine and fell into a deadly trap, eliminating yet another voice of opposition. The Jedi Order, once the guardian of peace in the galaxy, was now shattered, and Anakin, guided by the dark side, set about building a new regime. Meanwhile, Padme Amidala, who had always believed in Anakin's goodness and potential, found herself completely disillusioned with the man he had become. Anakin's actions, driven by fear and anger, destroyed their relationship. Padme, emotionally exhausted and heartbroken, gave birth to Luke and Leia, but couldn't resist the stress and pain. She died shortly after giving birth, leaving Anakin even more devastated. The loss of Padme was the final blow for Anakin, pushing him into a spiral of hatred and destruction. The galaxy fell into darkness, with the Empire rising from the ashes of the Republic and the Jedi Order becoming a legend, a distant memory of a time when peace was still possible. Yoda, aware of the danger the future held for Luke and Leia, acted in secret to protect Anakin's children. He went into exile on the remote planet of Dagobah, taking young Luke with him. There, Yoda trained Luke from childhood, teaching him the ways of the Force and preparing him to face the darkness he would one day inevitably encounter. Meanwhile, Leia was adopted by the Organa family on Alderaan, where she was raised as a princess, never knowing of her true Jedi heritage. The connection between the twins remained unknown to them, but fate brought them together again in the future. Palpatine, ever cunning, used the cruelest lie to ensure Anakin's complete fall to the dark side. He told Anakin that Padme and her children had not survived, that the betrayal of the Jedi was responsible for their deaths. Convinced that he had lost everything he loved because of the Jedi Order, Anakin was consumed by hatred and grief, which led him to surrender once and for all to the dark side. This lie was the last piece of the puzzle to transform Anakin into Darth Vader, completely submissive to Palpatine's wishes. The rise of Darth Vader marked the beginning of a dark era for the galaxy. Devastated by the supposed loss of Padme and convinced that the Jedi were the real traitors, Anakin fully embraced his new identity as Darth Vader. Under Palpatine's tutelage, Vader became the Emperor's enforcer, hunting down the remaining Jedi and eliminating any opposition to the Empire. The young Jedi who once fought for peace and justice disappeared, giving way to one of the most feared beings in the galaxy. With Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader, the Jedi Code, which had guided the Order for millennia, was destroyed. Anakin, now completely corrupted by the dark side, saw the Code as a weakness that needed to be eradicated. Without the Code to unify and guide the remaining Jedi, the Order fragmented and disappeared, and the dream of peace and justice faded. The Jedi legacy, reduced to forgotten legends and stories, was replaced by the new regime of the Empire, where fear and oppression prevailed. Under Palpatine's total control, the galaxy entered a new era of tyranny. With Darth Vader at his side, Palpatine consolidated his power, ruling with an iron fist and eliminating any form of resistance. The Galactic Empire spread to every corner of the galaxy, replacing the Republic and establishing a regime of terror. Hope has all but disappeared, and the galaxy has become accustomed to oppression, while memories of the Jedi era have been erased by Imperial propaganda. Darkness prevailed, and the fight for freedom became harder than ever. The tragedy of Anakin Skywalker was a tale of manipulation, power, and the struggle between light and darkness. Palpatine, the architect of all this destruction, achieved his goal: the creation of a galactic empire, ruled by him and his new apprentice, Darth Vader. The galaxy was plunged into an era of tyranny, and the Jedi Order, once the guardians of peace, was reduced to a few survivors, forced to hide in the shadows. The promise of a chosen one who would bring balance to the Force has been distorted into a weapon of destruction. Anakin's story is a grim reminder of the power of words, the choices we make, and how ambition and fear can lead us to the dark side.